Good morning and welcome to For the Health of It this morning. I am your host, Dr. Scott Phillips. This is KTMP 1340, and it is another beautiful spring-like day here in February. If anyone else is somewhat confused about our weather right now, you are not alone. It is strange. But anyway, we're not going to talk weather. We're going to talk health today. Again, Scott Phillips, Dr. Scott Phillips, owner of Lifestyle Chiropractic and Wellness Center in the Clock Tower building here in town. And excited for the show this morning. Have two of my favorite people on today. Debbie just rolled her eyes. How come you don't think you're one of my favorite people? We're going to talk a little bit about a fun newsletter that some of you may or may not know exists. So we'll talk about that first, and then we'll get into a little bit more heart health today. Again, February being Heart Health Month, which is not coincidental that Valentine's Day falls in the same month. Though the hearts that we make in our Valentines and the actual hearts are two very different looking things, but I guess they're both hearts, so we can say that they're the same. Anyway, so we'll talk a little bit about heart health and breakthrough study that's just finally getting some ground in nutritional guidelines. We're going to talk about cholesterol as well today. But let's say hi to Debbie Whiting. Debbie, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Of course, this is so fun. So Debbie, you and your friend and I don't know what else we call her, partner in crime. Now that works. You guys run a newsletter. It's a free newsletter. You just distribute it every Monday.
Every Monday.
And we call it Sophie's Planner.
Correct.
And as we were talking a little bit earlier, and this is kind of a fun tit-for-tat type of an idea because you just interviewed me.
Correct.
A second ago before we went live, and so that's going to be out. And so it was funny because then you asked me, hey, what questions are you going to ask me? I said, hey, you didn't tell me what questions. So I didn't give you any more. There's no advantage or disadvantage here. So now I get to run the offense, so to speak. So tell me a little bit about the newsletter and kind of how it got started, what the idea came from, again, why we want to inform people about some of these things.
Okay. Well, Melissa and I were talking one day and realized that there were amazing things going on in this valley.
Sure.
I've been here since 1991. I've seen a lot of growth, and I've seen a lot of changes. And there were some really great things happening in the valley, and we felt like we would either hear about them after the fact or not hear about them at all.
That's always the worst.
Yes.
I was watching a show, and they said, they were talking about a party, and someone said, what party? And the person said the saddest two words in the English language, right? When you don't know about the party.
Exactly.
It's really sad.
And we want everyone to know about the party.
That's right. So we're going to, so no one has those sad two words.
Exactly. So we decided to start a free email newsletter that compiled everything happening in the valley that week.
Sure.
And send it out weekly.
Monday morning is when I get mine.
Yes.
And it comes to the email. There's some Facebook association also, isn't there?
Yes, we do have a Facebook page.
Half of our subscribers probably access the newsletter through our Facebook group page.
Check your mic again, Melissa. I'm not sure if it's on because I've turned it up.
It says it is.
Well, then you got to get closer to it then.
Okay.
That's better for sure. Okay, so here we are talking about events that are going on, and you started to tell me how long ago that's been.
Oh, that we
the newsletter.
Started the newsletter?
Yeah.
April of 2012.
So we're coming up on 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years of informing people.
Yes.
And how do you know where things are happening? Are you guys just out on the scene trying to figure it out, or people contacting you? What's the easiest way? Yes and yes.
Yes.
We pull things from a lot of different sources. We try to stay connected with the chamber and promote their events.
Sure.
We look at a lot of different other places to compile it all for that week.
Park City, Provo, Salt Lake.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it when people submit their events. We want to know what's happening.
Right.
And we want to hear about all of it.
Sure.
So whatever you have going on, tell us about it.
Now, if you have an event, tell me the how it goes. They contact you. Does it matter whether it's? I know most of the things you post are free events, which is great.
Yes,
but then
we
there
will
are also some that are cost.
Yes, we will definitely post for-profit events, and that is a charge of $10 a week for something that does bring in money. But anything that is a nonprofit, even if it's bringing in money, we're happy to post as well.
Sure.
But they can just go onto our website. Super easy to submit an event there.
What's the website?
sophiesplanner.com.
Sophie, Sophie.
That's right.
And then S for
Yeah.
because it's her planner.
Exactly.
Now, this might be a strange question, but tell me where Sophie, I mean, because neither of you is
Sophie?
named Sophie. And so is she like the silent partner that no one gets to ever meet? Does she come out to events every now and then?
No. Good question. We look at Sophie as every woman. But Sophie came from, the meaning of the name Sophie is wisdom.
Oh, okay.
So in our own little way, we wanted to be the wisdom of the week.
And so you're Sophie.
Yes,
We are.
We're Sophie.
I like
You're
that.
Sophie,
Together
too.
are Sophie.
Yes. And then, of course, it was all about planning because I'm a planner. I don't know about others, but I like to know what I'm doing for the week.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I like to know in advance.
Sure.
So that way, if something great is happening on Thursday, I can plan to go to that.
And you can look forward to it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like Thursday morning at 9 o'clock.
Exactly.
Every morning is the radio show.
Exactly.
Which we have on our newsletter.
Which is posted
Yes.
on the newsletter.
This is a new thing that we've been doing where we do something called Sophie's Around Town.
Uh-huh.
And we go and do short video clip interviews on different things.
Nice.
So
And-
you'll be on.
And this morning
next
we
week.
got to do this.
Yes.
And when you said Sophie was coming to I thought I was going to get to meet Sophie, but now I know, luckily, that
We're
I
Sophie.
feel
But
like we are truly
collectively-
local news.
Yes.
yeah, and I think that's the great part is we've got some written news, which is fine, but honestly, other than that, you have the high school news, which is actually pretty awesome. I don't know if you guys have ever been to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, but there really isn't an outlet of video, that type of thing, and so I think it's great. Now we talk circulation, we talk how many people are currently emailed the newsletter right now, and you said you're getting close to 1,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know how close?
We have a couple hundred more to go.
Okay.
But we're steadily getting there.
We're getting there.
Get online and sign up and support us.
So
We would like all 50,000 people in the valley to be subscribers.
well, and that's the thing, right? Because the more people that subscribe, the more people know what's going on. Then the more people think, hey, but I've got an event, maybe I should post it, and then that'll just be good for everybody because then
Exactly.
we'll all know what's going on.
Yep.
And I think 1,000's a great number, but like you say, when we have that many people in the valley, then we should have even more. So signing up is as easy as going to the website,
Yes.
sophiesplanner.com,
Correct.
and there'll be a place that say, hey, do you want to get our newsletter? Type it in.
And if you'd rather not get a newsletter every week, just go to our Facebook group page and become a member, and you can just access it online from there.
See, and a lot of people like to just do the Facebook.
Right.
The Facebook. That's
Facebook.
made me sound really silly and old. I mean, Facebook. Of course, Facebook's outdated now anyway. Is there any plans of getting Sophie's Planner on Instagram? Because I heard that's the thing that I
Facebook's
should...
outdated.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
Instagram was
didn't.
kind of like the high school thing.
No.
It
Well,
might be
yeah.
out of date here.
Isn't that what's cool, though? If it's high school, then it's cool.
And that's how
That's what
how
I've been-
Facebook started.
That's what
too.
I've been trained, exactly.
When parents started signing up for Facebook,
Then it
remember they
became...
freaked out,
yeah,
so-
and they were like,
Yeah.
never mind, we got to do something else. So now there's Instagram. Which
Okay.
I'm just tired of it. I'm feeling old. Like I tried to do a Twitter page when that came out, and I can't do that. I'm good enough to just keep Facebook. So I'm glad you two at least don't think that Facebook's outdated. So at least stick around with me for a little while.
We'll check into that.
But Sophie's Planner is on Facebook, so you can search that out also, and then request to become a member.
Yes.
Any posting of events there, or is it more something
Absolutely.
where?
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, if you advertise with us, we make sure that we socially promote your event over
Cool.
social media in general. And then for those who advertise with us, we also like to do interviews with them too. It's kind of fun to just go find out about the event face to face.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like it. Listen, I think the one thing I think people would definitely be interested, at least that follow this show, is for sure there are lots of health classes, I mean, those are things that people like to do for free. People would like people to come in and learn about these types of things, and so I've seen a lot of those events posted. And so if, again, I try to announce events here, and I'm pretty pathetic at it, and so that's a really good outlet, a really good way for people to jump on and say, hey, I'm just checking out online. I want to, see what's going on around town this week. And anything from the newsletter this week that you want to highlight, or even next week, or is it all just kind of anything super great going on besides, of course, this morning's
Well, we just
radio
did an
show?
interview with Wasatch Family Clinic, which is a mental health facility in Heber Valley. And they give some really good information on suicide prevention and recognition, which is something I think we don't think about a lot. But great classes there. So check out that video. Check out their website. And what else is going on this week, Deb? I know that there's an adoption going on down in Salt Lake. It was a $10 adoption. It's kind of like a Love Your Pet event.
Yeah.
So beyond that,
There were many things.
there's a lot of
You
stuff.
have to get
See,
the
I put you on
newsletter.
the spot
Right.
on accident.
There's so many
but
things.
Exactly.
That's
If
why you want a newsletter.
The whole reason was to see if you knew every single thing on your newsletter, because if you did, then that means it'd be kind of small, and but since you don't, that means that
No.
there's lots of good information to go on to. So again, sophiesplanner.com. Put in your email address. Do people get nervous giving you an email address? I've noticed sometimes
Yes.
when I ask people in my clinic, like, hey, what's an email I can even send a receipt or something like that to, they're like,
Yeah,
We
it's
did
true.
notice that. We've been at different events around the valley. You may have seen our table, and we like to sign people up that way,
yeah.
especially when the weather is better. And we did start to see that, and we like to reassure people that we will never sell your email address, and we will never spam you.
Absolutely.
Really, you just get the one email a week.
Yes.
That's it.
Says, here's your newsletter.
Here's a good one. Lovers Cheese Tasting at Heber Valley Artisan
Ooh.
Cheese. That is
Mm-hmm.
happening tomorrow. I love cheese.
So tomorrow's the 13th. Not quite Valentine's, but that's
Not
okay.
quite,
So
but-
tell me when and all that kind of stuff.
So this is at the location on 920 North River Road. And I believe it's at 5:45 p.m. is when the tasting begins. And I think you can check that out on their website as well. They've got plenty of information. But we usually link to more information
Right,
from our
right.
newsletter as well.
Yeah, that's honestly, that would be a great event right there, right? Lovers cheese taste. I wonder if you actually have to feed the other person the cheese. You probably.
And they'd better have some grapes.
Yeah,
might
you
be
probably
better
can't.
this
You
one.
probably can't just take the cheese yourself. That's got to be. Yeah. Anyway,
And then if your kids like pajamas, Pajama-rama tomorrow at the library for ages 6 to 8.
we've never done pajama.
it's
Have you done
fun.
Pajama-rama?
It looks
You know, my
fun.
kids are older now, so we don't do a lot of
Yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah. Jacob's never.
No, he's 17 today.
Did they
I don't think
I
he's
noticed
planning
that on
going
Facebook.
to Pajama-rama.
Happy birthday, Jacob.
Aw,
Hopefully
happy
he's not
birthday,
listening, because
Jacob.
hopefully he's in
But
school.
you record this show.
Oh, that's true. So
So.
maybe he's listening afterwards.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to 17.
Yep.
And he doesn't have his footy pajamas anymore, so he probably won't be at Pajama-rama. But that sounds like a pretty fun event too. Anyway, yeah. So tell me what else we got to talk about with Sophie's Planner, Deb.
Well, one more thing I'd like to add about that.
Sure.
When Gmail changed some of its settings, our email initially will land in the promotions tab.
Those tabs are very confusing.
aren't
But
they?
yeah, okay.
You'll get everything on your phone, I think.
Right. That's
it's
true. I've
right.
never seen the tabs on my phone.
But
if you're accessing through
if
a
you're
computer.
accessing through your computer, you'll want to pull that into your primary tab.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, if I become a member just on Facebook and I don't give you my email address again, I don't know because I'm nervous that this or that. There's no email connection with
No.
the Facebook. Again, I said that again.
The Facebook.
With Facebook.
Facebook.
Oh my gosh. I meant with like the Facebook group, but I didn't say group, and so now I just feel
We actually
old
just
again.
put a link to the web-based version.
Oh,
of the
okay.
newsletter,
Perfect.
so-
But
Yeah.
I would encourage people to sign up for the email.
The email's probably the easiest. don't you
Really,
think?
it really is,
Yeah.
because we do post it there, but with all the new Facebook settings,
Yeah.
you don't see everything
No, it's
in
true.
your feed.
Yeah, I've gone back before.
So
and
it's
like,
easy
oh,
to
I
miss.
missed that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you don't want to miss it
Right? You don't want to miss it.
with all the other crazy things
there's
going
so-
on in your feeds right now.
There's so many great things going on in this valley.
There are really.
Oh,
I mean,
just found
really,
another
truly.
one.
Yes.
Dancing and desserts at Wasatch
So I'm
Recreation.
glad you brought that up because I've got a form I want to talk about because dancing is a healthy thing, right?
Dessert
I don't know
maybe
about the
not.
desserts, but that's okay. Sometimes it's good to indulge.
No one's gonna come and dance and eat carrot sticks.
That's
That
a
does
good.
not
That's a
sound
good
like
point.
fun.
That's a good point. Dancing and carrot sticks. That event will be less attended. Yeah, so
but we would post that if
well,
you
yeah,
submitted that to
I
us.
imagine. I figured you would.
Absolutely.
So Dancing and Desserts is going to be at the Rec Center. If you haven't seen flyers around it, should be really, really fun. Again, they've done a few of these dancing. They actually would do a class beforehand and then do the dancing. I think this is just come and dance. Seems like the desserts are included in the paid admission, which again is $8 per couple, or even they say family. So I guess if you're just bringing the whole family, you can just pay $8.
Singles rate too. So can you go like meet people?
There is a singles rate. It's $5. I feel bad that they make singles pay more.
I agree.
I think we should give them a discount.
That's not right.
Right? I mean, shouldn't they be $3?
I don't know. The
Punished.
value of picking up a good date. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good
Might be
point.
worth it.
So $5 if you're single and looking to mingle, as it is. And you can come on in. And Bentley Murdoch is the performer, and apparently he's a local musician. I don't know Bentley,
Oh, I don't either.
but it's Saturday, so this is on Valentine's Day, 8 to 10. And I'll tell you, if you've been out trying to go to a movie, go to dinner, any of that kind of stuff on Valentine's Day, good luck.
Craziness. Yeah, it
'Cause
is.
you're a psycho. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of people out there, and so this might be a fun thing to have a little bit of a more of a low key. And if you just can't find a last minute babysitter, bring the family, and everybody could kind of enjoy that. So I'm glad you brought that up. I want to highlight that also. Again, it's at the Rec Center. If you need the address, it's 345 West, 600 South. If you just turn on 6 South, you'll find it there. It's that big Activa Plaza building. Anyway, so there's Sophie's planner. There's what's going on, health and not health. There's just all kinds of different things, and I don't know what it does for people to not be informed. And so hopefully, if you're listening right now, you're on your phone or on your computer, going to the website right now and signing up, because it's free for you, and you might as well get some good information as far as what's going on, and then you'll never have to ask what party, and then everyone has to be
There you
go.
really, really sad for you. I just love that. The two saddest words in the English language. Anyway, so thank you, Deb. Thank you, Melissa and Sophie's planner, for coming on, and hopefully that was somewhat pain-free,
Yes, it
because my interview was pain-free too. So
Thank you for having us.
of course,
thanks,
of course. Now we are going to turn our. I wanted to announce one more little thing too. My friend Ellie Gallagher passed this along to me again. Studio Body Shop there, where Dance Addictions. It was Dance Addictions. Sorry, not where it used to be. It's the same people. It's just a different name. They are doing tap dancing, which I think is amazing.
Wow.
Now Ellie has named it Tappin' That, which I think is a great kind of a fun play on word. Anyway, so we are going to tap dance at Dance Addictions. At Studio Body Shop. If you want to go to their website to find out when it is. Again, she says no tap shoes required. It's a fitness class, girls and guys. Everybody's invited. And if you have an access pass, you can do it $10 a class, which is easy. Or if you just want to drop in as a guest, it's $15. I do not see times, but I think if you just go to their website, you can find that out. So studiobodyshop.com. And thank you, Ellie Gallagher, for putting on a little tap dance class. Why not?
A little culture in Heber.
Yeah, right? I don't know. Maybe we'll find that next. Oh, darn it. His name. Who's the really famous dancer from back in the day? Fred Astaire. Thank you. I can't believe that it completely
I love him.
left me. And anyway, I think if he showed up at that Valentine's dance, we'd probably give him a discount if he was just a single, right?
Free.
I think we'd let him in. Okay, well, so that's going on too. I want to highlight that. But again, like I say, today is February the 12th, and we are still in Heart Health Month, and we are still talking about heart healthy things. And so I wanted to bring up this article that I just saw on cholesterol. Again, like I say, it's been a long time since we talked about cholesterol being a bad thing. Cholesterol, especially dietary cholesterol. Eggs got a really bad rap a little while ago. In fact, guidelines came out from the government to say, oh, you need to really limit your egg yolk, especially intake. And then egg whites got super popular, and then the really hip thing to do is go to a restaurant and order an egg white omelet, and then you feel bad for all these poor yellow yolks that were getting thrown away.
Delicious yellow yolks.
Yellow yolks that had never got to go into people's digestive tracts. And so a little while ago, and this has been a little while, that a study came out, a really kind of groundbreaking study that looked at people's dietary cholesterol and their cholesterol intake, especially from eggs, and then compared those people to people that didn't eat them, and then compared the changes in their actual cholesterol numbers, specifically LDL, which is what we call the bad cholesterol. I don't believe that our body makes things that bad in that high a number, but we'll call it that just for fun.
75% of the cholesterol we have is made within our body.
I know. So that
liver.
so exactly. So this is what they're finally catching up to, is saying, wow, when people eat a lot more cholesterol, their cholesterol numbers don't really change much at all. And so this is kind of the fun new groundbreaking committee who is releasing a report. It's used by the Agriculture and Health and Human Services Department, and they write this report. It's a dietary guideline that they're updating for 2015, and apparently it's due by the end of the year, so we have a little while. But things are coming out as far as what the recommendations are going to be, and one of the recommendations is going to be to not hit dietary cholesterol so hard. They had originally said, hey, we need to limit it to about 300 milligrams a day or something like that, which 300 milligrams is not quite an egg yolk. And so you could actually, they say maybe 2 or 3 egg yolks a week was their recommendation. And so we're finally,
3 a day.
Yeah, exactly. So we're finally updating and saying, you know what, maybe that's not as big of a deal, and they're going to hit a little bit harder on some other things, which made me excited, because the other thing that's coming out is that they're actually going to try to put a limit on dietary sugar intake, which they've never had, as much as we know, and as bad as that is for you, there's never been you should limit it to this amount.
Oh, actually, 25% of our calories is recommended that we get from sugar.
Wow, 25%.
25%.
Yeah, well,
day.
you know, that's okay, right? I mean, a couple of spoonfuls of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming out in this new report, is they're going to actually put, hopefully, a cap on that also. And so we're switching from cholesterol, we're switching into sugar to say, hey, maybe this is really what's giving us some problems in our health, heart disease, those types of things. And so a good segue into our talk about heart health is what really is making us more susceptible to cardiovascular disease. CVD is what people talk about. Again, the #1 killer of males and females in the United States, year after year after year. And the numbers aren't going down; they're only going up, right? I mean, we're not getting
I thought
better.
It was breast cancer. Are you sure?
Yeah, no. Listen,
it's
that's
just
what
really
people like to
trendy.
talk about. Yeah, we got the pink all over the place.
Yep.
But heart disease, and not only that, but the CDC has called it a lifestyle disease. They have deemed it, and so really, as crazy as it sounds, we can call this almost suicide by lifestyle, right? These are people that are choosing. But see, when you have guidelines that say don't eat eggs, but don't worry about eating all the sugar you want to.
So confusing. And then I still hear people say, I do nutrition presentations once in a while, and I hear, well, what about saturated fats? Because I recommend coconut oil for various reasons.
Right.
I say, but it's solid, it's saturated.
Right.
I'm like, it's still a belief that is also a cause of heart disease. And
Yeah, saturated fats, cholesterol, all these things that people say, wow, we really just need to stay away from. So instead, we started to make our own fats and call them trans fats, and now we found out what the havoc that's wreaked on our systems.
massive.
And when we pull fat out and make things reduced fat and things like that, we have to fill them with lesser quality, again, man-made ingredients that usually fall in the simple carbohydrate, very sugar-laced categories. And so I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. Again, it's funny because even in the article it says we're not sure how many of these recommendations that they're actually putting on the table are going to make it into the final report. And that bothers me a little bit because I know that back when there was a report done in the 70s that really wanted to reduce sugar intake, that saw this trend of sweetening things and stuff like that. And by the end of the report, they had taken that out completely and said, oh, let's not worry about it. And so hopefully we have enough knowledge now, we've done enough research that we're going to start hitting that a little bit harder, because I think as far as our children are concerned and as far as the adults are concerned, when there's no recommendation at all for sugar intake and we know how bad it is for us, how do people how do people move forward? How do people really make the decisions that they should based on their health? Because we're all looking for low fat,
How do you know who to believe?
but we don't
That's the
give
problem.
a crap about low sugar.
Right.
Unless it's man-made sugar, and then we're like, oh, artificial sweeteners, and then people are like, oh shoot, we've pulled those off the shelves because they give people leukemia.
It's just important to realize that it's a money-driven system.
Yeah.
Who's funding these studies, who's providing the commodities for corn syrup, and it's a matter of keeping those big businesses in business.
Let's get a little conspiracy theorist a little bit for a second, can we?
Yeah,
Hopefully
let's do
people
it.
will indulge us. Yeah, let's get our tinfoil hats on, and let's really talk about the fact that in all actuality, people that are addicted to types of food are going to buy a lot of that food.
Yes.
And I think there's this almost mistaken idea that these government agencies, I don't know if we can name them, but let's name them, FDA, CDC, right? These government-paid agencies, that they are these mother figures that would never let any harm come to us.
Well,
Right?
that's what you would hope.
I think in people's mind that's what they're like, oh, but the FDA approved it.
Right.
Right? So they did rigorous testing. They stayed in their labs all night long because they love us so much. They're like, no, wait, that can't be right. Recheck. They're checking, making their list and checking it twice, so to speak. I think there really is this almost idea in the back of our minds that says, you know what, if it's at the store and if I can purchase it, it really can't be that bad for me because we have these government agencies put in place
Looking out for
to
it.
help us.
Yes.
But what people don't know is the FDA also is in charge of promoting agriculture, promoting the use of corn, the use of soy, the use of all these. So they have these two jobs. And you think, well, how much money are they making off me
Yeah.
to help them, to help them keep me safe? Or how much money are they making off some of these other companies that are saying, hey, let's get this into the marketplace?
Well, when it comes to corn syrup, it's an interesting, there's a big campaign. I'm sure you've seen commercials, corn syrup doesn't affect you any differently than sugar does. It's a perfectly natural
Right.
part of your diet.
It's from the ground.
I have to tell you, back in the days when I was eating the SAD diet, Standard American
Standard American diet. I love that. Sad.
I loved these sweet and salty granola bars.
Yeah.
I loved them. And
Yeah.
I could eat the entire box. If you look at calorie-wise, that shouldn't have even fit into my body. But I could do it. And I was always curious because now that I make my own and I have my replacement, there's no way I could eat more than one. I'm
Right.
satisfied full. And
Right.
so I always wondered what was going on. And after a little bit of research, come to find out that corn syrup actually turns off your hunger cue.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
You don't produce leptin, which makes you feel satisfied.
Right, right.
And then, so you can just keep going and ignore that feeling of having too much food in your stomach. So very interesting.
I called the bag of chips and the apples. Right, again, you can open that, and I guess we can call it bag of granola bars or box of granola bars. Because, you can open a thing of Doritos. Costco sells those big, huge bags of Doritos. You can open those up, and in the middle of a football game, all of a sudden notice you have eaten the whole bag.
Gone. Yeah.
And you look around hoping that there's someone else with cheese on their fingers, but you're the only one. Whereas, right, you eat one apple, you feel pretty good. You try to eat a second, you're like, hey, I'm getting full, and try to eat that third apple in one sitting. It's not going to happen. Yeah. And I actually had someone try me on that because she was like, oh, I could eat 3 apples. And she was like, I got to the end of that third apple and I was like, I was hurting.
I bet.
And you think, you know what, it's because your body is recognizing food. And like you say, again, that's the other side to the satiety issue with the corn syrup, right? You eat the corn syrup, the leptin is turned off, but also it doesn't give the insulin reaction.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't promote the pancreas to secrete insulin. And so not only that, but then your blood sugar spikes for a long time. And so you have these crazy cravings. You're like freaking out, right? And so I love this fact that, okay, let's really figure out what's causing heart disease. Let's really figure out why we can't stop this. Let's call it an epidemic, right? Because again, if
definitely.
it's killing the most men and women of anywhere else. And so again, here we are. Valentine's Day is a couple of days away. We love our partners, we love our spouses, we love our boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, kids, whoever you want to love. But do we have enough love for ourselves to figure out, hey, what is it in my diet that's promoting me to either be prone to cardiovascular disease or why am I not trying to change this? Why am I not trying to really get to the bottom of how can I feel the best? How can I treat my heart the best? And I think when we find out that inflammation is really the culprit, really the thing that says, hey, if my arteries are inflamed, if there's an injury perceived there, then it's going to send the cholesterol, it's going to send these things, it's going to try to help brace these areas. They're going to become very very non-elastic, right? Again, our arteries are designed to open up and close at will, right? They should be, that's called elasticity.
Right.
When they become less elastic, they become hard, and then we know that hardening of the arteries is actually called atherosclerosis, which is a main leading causer in plaque buildup and blockage.
Right.
And so again, if my body is under inflammation all the time, then I'm really, really at risk.
So,
and actually, there are some doctors in town, Dr. Rosenberg, one in particular that I wanted to mention, who really is on the cusp of that inflammation pioneering. He really looks at that. There's a level in your blood that you can test. It's called C-reactive protein. You can find out what inflammation is going on in your body, how long it's been going on. And if you don't know that number as well as you know your cholesterol number, your heart, your blood pressure, all that kind of stuff, I think he would say, and many of the groundbreaking research now would say, you need to know that number just as well as anything else.
Yeah, definitely. So what causes inflammation then? I mean, how do you keep your
That
inflammation down?
is a great question. That's why I like having you on, see, because you're good at segueing. So again, inflammation, if we talk about what comes, again, it can come from all different areas, right? Inflammation is just a response to stress, right? My body goes into inflammation as part of the stress response. Because again, it's a good way of if my arteries open up, right, so I can get blood to my muscles, all that kind of stuff, I don't want to shut them down. The other way I was going to say too is if we talk cardiovascular health, right, we all take our pulse and we think of resting heart rate. Actually, the new gold standard of cardiovascular health is what's called heart rate variability. And you've probably heard this, Melissa, for sure. But again, it takes a long time. Like I say, to get these guidelines right now about eggs and cholesterol, I've been talking about that for 15 years probably. Maybe not that long, but 10 years at least was when the study was done. Right? I mean, the study came out a long time ago.
And it's incredible it took this long for it to become mainstream.
And now here we
and now it's all this new research.
Yeah,
like, well, not really.
Well, it was done in the 90s.
Right.
Which seems a long time ago.
I think I was a teenager.
Yeah, exactly. I was almost, no, just kidding. I was a teenager too then. But really, I mean, so we're looking at, okay, it takes about 10, 15 years to finally get some of this stuff that's going on into the mainstream media. And so maybe in another 10 years, we'll be talking about C-reactive protein and not necessarily our cholesterol number. But let's talk about heart rate variability because, again, I think this one's up and coming. I think people need to know about this too. And the reason it's such a good tell is that if I can raise my heart rate very quickly and then bring it down very quickly, what I'm looking at there is a very healthy relationship between my stress response, which is the sympathetic nervous system. It's the fight or flight. I always tell people that I say flight or flight because I have no desire in sticking around and fighting. I am going to flight. So sorry. But it's a good balance between that fight or flight system and that rest and digest system if we can really get that heart rate to be variable that quickly. And so enter these different types of exercises now. Instead of taking a prolonged, hey, let's keep our heart rate raised for a long period of time, now we say, hey, let's raise it for a little while, let's bring it down for a little while, let's raise it again for a little while, let's bring it down for a little while. And we talk about high intensity interval training that I know that you really love and do a lot of.
I love it. It is my favorite workout, 2 workouts of the week. I think 2 is plenty.
Yeah.
But, I used to run, and I got up to 5 or 6 miles.
Yeah.
And, man, it was hard on my body. But when I realized studies showed that my 5-mile run was nothing compared to 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's hard. It's every bit as hard. You're sweating, and you can tell you've worked really hard.
Right. So when we talk stress response on the show, in my office, wherever I talk health, I always break down into 3 categories of the chemical stresses, the physical stress, and the emotional stresses. And the nice thing is, Melissa, you're kind of a guru on all 3 sides of those things. And so you asked me where inflammation comes from. I tell you, I think it comes from stress in any of these areas. And so I want to ask the same question to you. Where do you see most people, the culprit to most people's inflammation?
For most people, I think diet is a big one.
Right.
I think you're right about stress, though. It might actually take precedence over diet for some people.
Sure.
But just, I mean, our sugar consumption is out of control. And I'm sure most people have heard the inflammatory response to sugar
Right.
is immediate. Your immune system drops. I've noticed even when I have like small injuries,
Yeah.
they're kind of bothering you, and I indulge in some sugar, those injuries feel a lot worse.
Right.
So sugar, and I also have heard too that seed oils, I read a study on this recently, can be
I think I saw the
a
same
very
study.
inflammatory
Yeah.
thing. Industrial vegetable oils like corn, soy, cottonseed, sunflower, safflower, they're high in omega-6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which your body
Which
needs,
is pro-inflammatory.
Right? It is pro-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Your body needs omega-6
You do need sixes.
in balance
Right,
with your
right,
omega-3s,
right.
correct? But if think about, we eat seed oils in everything, every packaged food, every restaurant.
Yeah, I think
is
if you
seed
looked
oils.
and tried to look for sunflower, safflower out, it's always there.
Yeah, it is.
Cottonseed.
So what is your alternative, right? For a good
That's the
oil?
question, right?
Right. So I would recommend personally your saturated fats. Believe
Sure,
it or not, your
sure.
ghee, your coconut oil, olive oil in its unfiltered form is
Right,
awesome.
Right.
And even I found the avocado oil is kind of one of my new favorites because it
Yeah.
has a high smoke point.
Yeah,
and
because it's a little
delicious.
easier to you can, when you heat up olive oil, it doesn't do quite as well, but avocado oil does really, really well.
Right, right. So I mean, there's that. The oils is a big one. And then I think, what was the one I was going to, well, we talked about sugar.
Sugar's huge for sure.
And then just, I think those are the two biggest ones.
Yeah.
And then instead of saying, what not to do, what can you do to lower your inflammation?
Right.
Inflammation is a really important part of our natural body
Sure,
function, right?
sure.
I mean, you have to. What happens if you injure
Again, yeah.
yourself? You need that inflammation.
Stress response, inflammation response.
It's a matter
great.
of keeping it in balance.
Yeah, great when you need it. Great in the short term, but very degrading in the long term.
Right. So I think really one of the best advices I've heard is eat a lot of vegetables in all different colors and
Yeah,
forms.
yeah.
Switch it up every week. Make it a huge part of your diet.
Right. Right. And they're going to give you the building blocks. They're going to give you the ways to just, again, when that sugar is high. And so now you think about diabetics, right? I mean, you think about someone that has chronically high blood sugar.
Yeah.
The type of havoc that it wreaks on their body, right? The blindness. We talk about the amputations. We talk about, this is all because the blood sugar is so high all the time. And you think, oh, okay, well, luckily that's just for the diabetics. But the studies that are coming out now, I think they said by 2030 that 1 in 3 Americans will be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I mean, that's a third.
My goodness.
And that's not in very long. That's in 15 years. That's in my lifetime. I don't know about yours, Melissa. No, just kidding.
I think we're about
I think we're the
age
same
group.
age. I know, but really, I mean, when we talk about inflammation, we talk about. I want to let's talk about omega-3s and omega-6s because I think that's an important thing to bring up. Again, omega-6s being pro-inflammatory, and again, I'm not against things that are pro-inflammatory. I think things.
No.
Again, we need an inflammation response. We talked a couple of weeks ago with Krista Clark about natural anti-inflammatories, which I thought was a great show. And she wants to come back in March and talk about an anti-inflammatory diet. But here's why we need the anti-inflammatory aspect, because we have completely blown that ratio that we need. In fact, back in the ideal ratio that I've read between omega-3s to omega-6s is actually 4 omega-3 to 1 omega-6. So 4 to 1. They say back in 1900s, 1910s, we were pretty close to that. They said about 3 to 1 is what I read.
Yeah, eating all our saturated fats.
Yeah, so then we got to about 1990 when we started. That was kind of the processed food revolution, right? This is when people started to say 1980, 1990, people started to say, hey, let's throw all this crap in our food because it's going to stay on the shelves longer.
Right.
It's going to be easy to make, right? Kids are going to eat it fast because anyway.
It's going to make a lot of money.
And so we're gonna make cereal and we're gonna make all this kind of stuff, and it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna live on the shelf for 6 years, and so we don't have to throw it away. And so that was that's when it kind of pulled to that 1-to-1. We were about at 1-to-1 ratio between our 3s and 6s.
Yeah.
And then they pulled the study again back. I think it was about 2010. And they said, okay, now we're at, and I don't know if, hopefully this will hit hard. I usually write this on the board when I do it because it is such a crazy thing. So again, 4-to-1 being optimum of 4 omega-3s to 1 omega-6. Now what they're looking at is we're at about 1 omega-3 to about 24 omega-6s.
I have not heard
So
this
we've
one.
gone completely backwards. Not only that,
My
but I mean just
goodness.
so far away from where it ought to be. And so when we say anti-inflammatory, pro-inflammatory, if we're one anti-inflammatory to 24 pro-inflammatory molecules, I mean, it's no surprise, right? It's no surprise that our bodies are constantly in an inflamed state, that we're sending cholesterol, that we're sending plaque, that we're blocking our arteries, and we're dying of heart disease. I mean, it's just it's such an easy thing to look at, but then you say, okay, well, how do we get to that point? And I will tell you that it's all those processed foods. It's not your saturated fats. It's not your food that our grandparents grew up on and didn't die so quickly of heart disease, right?
Are you willing to admit what you had for breakfast this morning?
Well, what I had was a protein shake. I wish I had. I would eat eggs and bacon every morning. Honestly, I really would. But I usually like to have some eggs in the middle of it. But protein shakes.
I think
are
people
easy.
would really question my diet. I had my bacon and eggs.
Yeah.
And had some sautéed greens.
And
on the
not
side
turkey
with
bacon,
beef.
I can imagine.
No, this was like uncured, like it's the real stuff.
Yeah.
It was the good stuff. Actually, Real Food sells a great brand of bacon by Beeler's. And
Yeah.
It's raised without hormones and
Man.
antibiotics, and it's delicious.
You forgot to bring me some.
Fabulous.
And so, I mean, we look at back and we say, this is how people used to eat. This is not where they got there. So, again, where can we get our omega-3s? And the most popular place for omega-3 is in fish, right?
Yeah.
Oily fish, those types of things. You can get some vitamin D from that also. That's one of your only dietary sources of vitamin D. Most of the time you get it from the sun, which I was going to say usually in winter doesn't happen, but holy cow, I mean, this is the best winter in the world. So get outside and play, right? Get your vitamin D. But fish, wild-caught salmon, wild-caught, the farm-to-raise actually bring down the omega-3 content and raise the omega-6 content.
Cod liver oil is a fabulous
But
source
cod
too.
liver, so most
just
people I
take it in
think
a pill.
supplement it.
Yeah.
Right, which I think is okay. That's one of those where I say most people aren't eating enough fish to counterbalance all those omega-6s, and so the supplementation is a great idea.
Yeah, definitely.
But we got to get a good source, right? There was a big article that just came out that said, hey, we've tested a lot of these supplements at Walmart and GNC. Those are the two places that they really went in and tested, and found there was some percentage, I wish I could look it up here, but it was an alarming percentage of these supplements that had things other than what they said was in there.
Well, this says most commercially available, even cod liver oil, are processed with heat and chemicals because the heat and chemicals destroy the naturally occurring vitamins. Synthetic vitamins are added back.
Fantastic.
So
We love
take it.
synthetic vitamins.
Sounds like the milk story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I actually have found a couple of brands I really like. I think Green Pastures fermented cod liver oil is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Now you say fermented cod liver oil.
Fermented, it even takes it a step further.
So this is one that you could like
When it's fermented,
enjoy
you'll
in the
get
evenings.
vitamins. Yeah, exactly.
Valentine's Day's coming up, right?
It's not bad.
Let's
You
drink some
swallow it,
cod
it's
liver oil.
gone. I know.
Yeah.
It was a little. Anyway, so if it's fermented, it also has vitamin K2 in it.
Yeah.
And the gut health, I think, is really the other issue. I think a lot of people hold inflammation in their guts.
Oh,
and
my
fermented
goodness.
foods are a beautiful
Yeah.
way to kind of counter.
Big time.
So
The company I like is Nordic Naturals. That's the one that I've used for a long time. I think they're very state of the art as far as how they get their oil and how they sell it and all that kind of stuff. And so I like them too. Carlson's is another really popular company. But the problem with a lot of these supplements is there is no regulating body. Now, again, I can't in one breath say the FDA doesn't care about you, which is in a sense of what I said, not exactly what I mean, but that's kind of what I said. And then say, oh, I wish somebody regulated supplements. I mean, obviously, I don't feel like that needs to happen. But what people need to understand is a lot of times in this type of situation, you have to find out where you can get these good sources, because I can make fish oil in my bathtub.
You could.
And put it in capsules and sell it, right? And say, hey, this is great fish oil. And I can put whatever I want on there, right? Because we're finding that with no regulation, and as long as there's no idea or no reason for someone to come look into it, I can do that for a long time. And people will take my fish oil and be like, not only was that the grossest thing I've ever tasted, but I'm not getting any health benefits out of it. And so then they write off fish oil. right? And so what do? We go to Costco because they have the big old tub, and we buy their fish oil, and we take it, and it tastes gross, and we burp stuff up. And we're like, why am I doing this to myself? I can't see any benefits. And I say, I promise 100% right there is the quality of the supplement that you're taking. And so do some research, look into these companies for sure. And the one thing I tell people is if you're burping fish when you take fish oil, it is already bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Give it to your dog.
You know, one thing I've been learning, I'm actually in school to be a nutrition therapist.
You are? Why haven't we brought that up yet? This is exciting.
I'm 1 year in, and this is hard stuff.
Yeah, you're in
really
the
hard.
thick of it.
But what I'm learning is that there is no one perfect solution. There's no one perfect diet for anyone. In fact, I cannot personally take fish oil.
Yeah.
I have an intolerance to histamine-producing foods. I actually get very hive and rashed, and I have anaphylactic attacks. So it's not an option for me. So is fish oil the only option out there? Of course not.
No, definitely not.
Right. So it's important just to realize that if it's not working for you, then chances are it's not the right thing for you. But to get some advice.
Yeah,
Get
definitely.
some blood work done. Find out what's going on with yourself. Really know your body. Don't just guess. Don't just take shots in the dark.
And I will say, I mean, for us to think that biologically we are all so variable. Right? I mean, different blood types, all these types of things, and then say, oh, but this is the only diet for everybody.
Right.
You know, you better do all of this.
So I would love to say blanket statement, everyone should take fish oil every day. Well,
right.
That's not necessary.
No, exactly, because, if you're breaking out in hives, you probably ought to get that looked at. Now, I will say, too, the one thing that people might be interested in is the fish obviously gives you a really good high concentration of omega-3s, but any of your grass-fed animals actually have a pretty high content of omega-3s. And in fact, the gamier you get, sometimes the higher, right? So your elk meats, grass-fed beef is fantastic.
I think it has close to the same content as wild-caught salmon.
Really?
I mean,
see, isn't that amazing?
Steak is delicious.
Steak is so good. Who wouldn't eat steak? Honestly, for me, I think, so again, this is another great reason to know where you're getting your meat from. And if you're a hunter out there, there's lots of them, and you got your trophies. Keep that
freezer full of deer.
Yeah, keep that meat around because it's really, really high in omega-3 fatty acids. Yes. And don't feel bad frying up a steak,
Not at all. And coconut oil, as a matter of
fact. And coconut oil. And then you're going to get a lot of these good things. So let's transition. Let's talk gut health too, because I think you are correct as far as inflammation goes. I always talk about when your gut is healthy, you are healthy. I mean, really, there's almost that tie between those two, right? People with guts that aren't doing as well as it's almost just a matter of time before something happens in their health.
But sometimes you don't even realize it. You just think that's natural life. I thought, that gut-wrenching pains were normal for years. And it's odd to say that. I'm like, oh, this is just how digestion feels.
Yeah. When I'm digesting something, I hurt.
You're just leave me alone for a few hours.
I got to work on this brick I just ate.
But until you feel good, you just don't know. So it's really important to just take note. Like, I want to say meditate, but really be aware of your own body and what's going on.
Right.
Do some research.
Yeah.
Don't be in the dark on this one for sure.
Well, there was another research article that it wasn't necessarily research, but it was a study that was just done that found out that a third of Americans now are using some sort of alternative health care in their healthcare system. Right, a third. That's a pretty high number.
Yeah.
Right, and so they're using some sort of alternative, whether it be massage therapy. Even they qualified yoga as doing this also. If you go and do a regular yoga practice, right, that's kind of alternative healthcare, chiropractic, acupuncture, all these things. And they said one thing that's really been kind of promoted recently in all of these circles has been the use of some sort of probiotic. Right, and again, if I talk about my two top things that you want to get into your body, fish oil is one for the omega-3 aspect, and so I won't say fish oil for the sake of people that may have trouble with it. We'll say omega-3s in some form, and then probiotics is the other one because, again, right, I see so many people in my office, and a lot of them have digestive concerns, and I think you're right. I think a concern happens when it's like life-altering. Right, and so if it's just a pain here and there, I kind of get hurt. I feel a little bit, when I digest, and that's probably not a big concern. But when it becomes, my stomach is in knots all the time, then all of a sudden that's when they're going to actually bring it up in a healthcare provider's office. right? And so I think that self-awareness, right, that idea of, hey, how is my digestion, right? Once a week is not, even though that might be regular,
For you.
it's not good.
No.
Right, we should be getting rid of these toxins daily at
Or
least
multiple times a
once.
day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
In fact, there is a reflex, and so this is why parents with little babies know this reflex for sure. There is a reflex that when you take food into your body, there is an automatic reflex that says we need to get what we've got in out.
Right.
And so that's why, right, my brother gets in trouble because when he finishes dinner and it's time to clean up dishes, he all of a sudden disappears for a half hour.
That's great. Good for him.
And his wife gets mad, but I'm like, sorry, sister-in-law, like this is a reflex. It's something he can't control. But really, I mean, that is the time that we, and so probiotics, let's talk about really what it is used for, right? Again, 70% of your immune system is in your gut.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy number.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing that I got to throw out there, too, is the new research on any of your artificial sweeteners. So your bad ones like aspartame and your good ones like sucralose. I don't know how sucralose got to be the good one.
I'm not really sure either.
But they did pretty well. I talked to a lot of people and they're like, oh, no, it's sucralose. It's the Splenda. It's the good one. It's like, no, they're both bad. But they both will degrade and wreak havoc on your normal flora, your normal bacteria that are in there, providing that good gut health.
You can make them leaky, which I've heard leaky gut before, but when I really understood what was going on,
Yeah.
you have actual holes in your intestinal wall that things can escape through.
Big things.
For me, like big things. And then I started creating all these massive food allergies, which is insane. I mean, I started becoming allergic to pretty much everything. And
Right.
I think it can be brought back to the gut.
Right.
When those things go into your body through that intestinal wall, you have antibodies that start attacking it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then those allergies start.
So probiotics, let's talk probiotics is a way to repopulate your gut or keep your gut populated with good bacteria. And if you think about it, right, let's talk about our neighborhoods, right? If we have vacant houses in our neighborhood that are just sitting vacant for a long time, we have really no control over who's coming and moving in. And so let's say there's a shady group of people that like our neighborhood and they want to live in our neighborhood. The more vacant houses we have, the more of these shady people that can move into our neighborhoods, right? We call this opportunistic infections. And so if we keep our houses stocked with good families that we like, right, that aren't shady, I'm not qualifying what shady means.
Here.
Yeah, no, listen. Let's just say people who we don't want in our neighborhoods. I'm not saying who or anyway, I could get in a lot of trouble for this, I've decided, but
It's okay.
but here's this analogy, right? We'll say we'll say good bacteria and bad bacteria. How about that?
There
So
you
our
go.
neighborhoods, we want to have them filled with good bacteria families. If we have vacant houses, meaning if we don't have enough good bacteria populating all of these houses, then we have room for bad bacteria to move in. And they will move in, and they will populate, and they will park 6 cars on their driveway, and they'll be there, and they'll be an annoyance, right? They're going to play their
Never
music
mow their
loud.
lawn.
Yeah, they're going to play their music loud really late. And so that's the idea, right? Is your gut is a neighborhood that you want to keep with good bacteria stocked. And so if you're not actively making sure that you have good bacteria in your gut, then we can get that bad stuff to start to populate. Again, I can swab anybody right now and start doing cultures and find bad disease-causing bacteria on everybody. And here's where the germaphobes are going to freak out a little bit because really it's all over the place. You carry flesh-eating staph pyogenes most of the time in your nasal cavities. You can
Right.
find it. You can swab it and say, here's staph pyogenes. If this was a rampant infection in my body, it would literally eat flesh off of my body, right? So it's there. But how do we keep it at bay? And that's because we have so many other bacteria, so many other good organisms kind of keeping things the way that they ought to be. And so, again, the easiest way to talk about probiotics is to take something, right, again. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem is we just go and we take whatever's on the shelves, right?
They're expensive. The good stuff.
The good stuff is
Crazy
quite
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah.
And so we'd rather save the money and buy something and feel good about it in our
Right.
hearts that we're right, it's
Which is not
Valentine's
a bad thing,
Day.
by the way.
Well, listen,
should
if
feel
you
good about what
if
you're
you well
doing.
right, and if you got a little bit of maybe some placebo effect, maybe that
Yes.
could be helpful also. But again, we want good sources. So I always go to whole food sources, right?
Yeah.
The food sources have never never stirred people wrong, as long as
Far
we're not
superior
allergic to them.
anything you can
But yeah, if
handle.
you taste it, or if you test it based on, hey, synthetic versus the whole food source. And so probiotics are going to come from any of your fermented, cultured types of foods. And so people always say yogurt. Oh, I'm getting my probiotics because I eat my yogurt. And they feel good because it's Yoplait.
With how
But
many,
what they
like,
don't
25
understand,
grams of
exactly. I
sugar?
mean, it's
Yeah.
all sweetened. And so you say, okay, well, I'm sorry, you're not really getting the benefit there. So you have to get a little bit more, I don't want to say hippie-ish, but
It's not hippie-ish. And you know what?
you have to get a little more strong, I think, a
And-
little more pure.
Yogurt's only good if your body can handle milk products well, when so many people can't. And
Exactly.
They don't realize that. So
75% of the world in some form is
Right.
lactose intolerant.
it's not a great choice for everyone, but
Right.
one that I did find was a Bulgarian yogurt.
Bulgarian.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yeah,
And it comes in
yeah.
a glass jar, and you can put just drops of liquid stevia and make the most delicious
Right.
probiotic snack.
Right, right. And Bulgarian, is Bulgarian the new Greek? Is that?
You know what? It's really high in bacteria and cultures.
Yeah,
It's one
yeah.
of the highest that I've found.
Right.
And it's not sweetened. It's from a really good, clean source.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And you put in a little
It's
stevia.
not hippie-ish.
Okay, all right. Sorry. I don't mean.
It's for
But
the health conscious.
yeah, and so that's a good source. Definitely, yogurt's not a bad way to go as long as it's not as sweetened, I think, as some of the more popular ones are. And then you say, okay, well, what else is there? Sauerkrauts, right? I think this has been a big push recently.
Well, depending on where you buy the sauerkraut.
Well,
right?
exactly. Or make it. See, I want to start making my own.
Oh, it's so easy. Yeah.
And so definitely a good source of sauerkraut for sure.
Because you can get sauerkraut off the shelf in the grocery store that has not been cultured at all.
Right.
It's been vinegarized.
Right,
really.
right. All it is, and
that's
that
not
kills
gonna do-
everything.
Yeah, it's not going to be any good. So
It might still taste good on a hot dog.
actually probably tastes delicious.
Kombucha is the mushroom drink that people like. That one's also got live cultures in it.
It does. Some is very high in sugar too, though.
That's true. You got to watch your sugars. I'm trying to think some of the other food sources of probiotics. Kefir.
Kimchi's awesome.
Kimchi
Kefir,
is a
yeah.
little bit,
I
a little
love
spicy.
I love it. I love it.
So anyway, so then if you're just not hip on any of these live ways to get the probiotics, then obviously a pill form's not a bad way to go. But some of your guidelines here that I usually tell people is look for billions of cultures. You want billions,
Yeah.
like tens of billions, even if you can find it.
Absolutely.
And then you want more than just one strain, right? A lot of times
Right.
you'll go and you'll buy acidophilus. People say, oh, well, I take acidophilus. I say, well, that's one strain, but your body has lots of different strains. And so the more strains, I think, the better. You know,
I
the more
agree.
that are going to actually support. And again, these are all good neighbors, and they're gonna go to bed at 8 o'clock, and they're gonna keep their dog inside.
Do you know how else you can get a good probiotic?
Tell me.
Getting your hands dirty in the dirt.
Right?
Soil-based probiotics. If you're a gardener,
Yeah.
don't completely wash your vegetables. Rinse them a little bit.
Yeah,
But don't
yeah.
wash it all off. It's incredible how we are so opposed to dirt.
We hate
But
dirt.
actually, you get very good natural probiotics from your dirt.
I eat dirt.
Play in the dirt.
I don't eat dirt. But, I mean, especially that soil-based, like you say, and gardens, we're going to start talking. I feel like we should be talking about gardens today.
Definitely.
But I'll have Rob Kinch back on, I think, and we'll talk gardens again when it gets closer. But again, another great source, right? If you're gardening, the kids can get that source also. Again, there's so much depletion from the sugars, from the sweeteners. We talk about 80% of food in the grocery store is being sweetened on some level, artificially. Not artificially, but added to. And so you think these kids are just bombarded. We need to get their guts healthy because all these diseases, the ADDs, the autisms, you can trace a lot of this back from things leaking out of the gut.
Yeah, I think you can't really find a diet that is specifically heart healthy. It's an overall healthy.
Right.
But it's amazing how gut health is very directly related to your heart health.
Right. So again, we got off a little bit of just heart health specifically, but I think when we talk these things that cause the inflammation, right, that are really the culprits in most everyday, day-to-day types of eating, let's say, then when we can pay attention to those, then all of a sudden we can realize that we're doing something good for our hearts because we're decreasing that inflammation.
Agreed.
And so that might be our final thought, because it's 10 o'clock. It's crazy how fast it goes. Everyone's always like, "Are we really going to talk for an hour?" I'm like, "Well, I promise you'll
Flies
finish
by
and
so
be like,
fast.
wow, it's done."
I have more to say.
So, again, treat your Valentine nice this weekend. And if you're one of those single people that would have to pay $5 to go dancing, then your Valentine can be your heart this weekend. And you can treat it nice by doing one of these things, trying to get that inflammation down. And if you do that, then I promise you've done something good for yourself. We get on a better routine, a more heart-healthy routine. And I think you're right. I don't think there's one specific diet that says, hey, this is a good diet for your heart.
Right.
But if we can bring inflammation down, we bring the stress response down, we bring any of that, danger, all that kind of stuff, and start eating egg yolks again.
Yum.
If you have forgotten how good an egg yolk can taste, I want you to take one. I want you to eat one today because it's so good.
I am on it.
We call when we make little, the sunny side up eggs or whatever for my kids, they call it an egg bomb. Because when they cut it into the yolk and it explodes, they think it's so awesome.
Do your kids like that?
They love it.
Awesome. I'm trying to get mine to accept that. I still have to cook it a little bit.
They're like, make an egg bomb.
Awesome.
And then they're like, yeah, it exploded. Luckily, they don't throw it at anybody. I guess that would be the next step. Hopefully I'm not giving them any ideas. Anyway, okay, well, get out there, be healthy again. It's a great, fun day. Hopefully people have been outside the last few days. Don't be afraid. Somebody said, I feel guilty about enjoying this weather because I know it's probably not great, but don't feel guilty. It's not your fault. If it's going to be here, you might as well enjoy it. And so get outside, have fun, get out for a run, a walk, a hike, whatever you want to do, a bike ride. Someone said I wanted to go snowshoeing, so it just turned into a hike. And get out and be healthy if you do it for no other reason. Of course, just do it for the health of it. Thank you for listening this morning.